Hey everyone, and welcome back to Crypto Empire, where we dominate the crypto market. My name is Connor. In this video, I'll be explaining why I am bullish on the launch of the Monad blockchain that is set to go live in Q2 of this year, probably in a few months, right? Monad is a new layer 1 blockchain, and it is the most anticipated and the most hyped up new layer 1 launch in a while. So let's get into the video on why I'm bullish on it. So here we are looking at the Monad homepage. As you can see, it is a protocol that delivers full EVM compatibility with breakthrough performance, true decentralization, production-grade security, and exceptional throughput. They say goodbye to the blockchain trilemma forever. Now, before I just kind of go over everything myself, I actually traveled to Ethereum Denver in late February and early March, and I had the opportunity to sit down with the head of DeFi at Monad, a gentleman named Abdul here, okay? He is doxxed, so it's not like I'm doxing him. But nonetheless, we sat down and we had a great chat about, what Monad is as a new layer 1 blockchain. The audio did kind of get messed up a little way through. However, we still had a great conversation, and I want to show you the highlights and when the audio was good. So before I get in and explain what this is, let's go and watch that conversation from a few weeks ago. That will really explain it extremely in depth, and you guys will get a ton from it. So let's go watch that video now. What is going on, everyone? My name is Connor from Crypto Empire, and today we are at Ethereum Denver, and I have a special guest with me today. I have Abdul, who is the head of DeFi from Monad, or how do you pronounce it? Monad or Monad?
Monad.
Monad.
Yeah.
You guys know what I'm talking about. Anyways, Abdul, how are you doing today?
Pretty good, man. How about yourself?
Doing great, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to make this kind of interview podcast happen. And I have a lot of questions that I want to ask Abdul today about Monad and the big launch that is upcoming, because testnet just went live, right?
Yeah. We had testnet launch last week. I think we're in day 9 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have been a user of the testnet since it launched, and I saw on the Monad Twitter account, if you used it in the first week, you were called an early user. Is there anything to that, or is there anything you can speak on to what an early user might entail?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people were trying to get their hands on testnet tokens and play around with things, and because of so much demand, a lot of the faucets just stopped working on day one.
Right.
And then a lot of people were basically just waiting. So to get people out of the waiting room, we were like, oh, you should be an early user and you should try it out. Just closing out on week 1 and sharing some of the numbers. But yeah, I think like a lot of the projects are really looking at who some of the early users of the applications are to really recognize those people and make them a core part of their community.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Monad is a huge new layer 1 blockchain. The market, I don't want to say it's too saturated already with other layer 1 blockchains, but let's be real, there's a lot of competition out there, right?
Yep.
So who exactly was Monad built for, or Monad, I keep on mispronouncing it, my bad, but who was it built for?
Yeah.
And essentially, how do you plan on beating the competition?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think if you go back to the origin story of Monad, so Monad has been an engineering effort for almost 3 years at this point, and the co-founders of Monad, James and Keone, were working at Jump Crypto, and they have a lot of high-frequency trading background, and they were spending a lot of time in the Solana ecosystem. And back in 2021, if you looked at like the DeFi ecosystem, you had a lot of DeFi activity happening within the EVM. There were a lot of developers, lots of really good protocols, lots of TVL. You did not have the same kind of DeFi traction on Solana at the time.
Right.
And really what they saw was that there's a lot of demand on the EVM, but the infrastructure or the blockchains are not able to keep up with that demand. And you would routinely see block space get congested on Ethereum, gas fees spiking as high as like $100 for a swap. And then you had some of these alternative EVM chains come about, like L1s like Binance Smart Chain or Avalanche or Phantom, but none of them were scaling Ethereum or the EVM to the same extent that you would see some of these non-EVM chains like Solana do. So really what the opportunity that they saw was like you could rebuild everything from the ground up and achieve a lot more TPS, faster block times, while preserving decentralization. So really what the team was set to do was build the entire EVM client from the ground up again, but introducing a lot of improvements to it, and doing things that were pretty common in the non-EVM space, like parallel execution or deferred execution, and then rewriting the entire consensus, creating a new database called MonadDB. So there's a lot of fundamental optimizations that were made within the stack to really, like 1000x the performance of Ethereum. So where we are with Monad today, we're live on our testnet, went live last week, and right now we have 57 validators on our testnet that are all globally distributed. There's no co-location problems, and they're spread across 20 different countries and 40 different cities. And the goal is to make Monad even more decentralized by the time we go to our mainnet, increase that number up to 100, and then in the future be hundreds or thousands, the same way you see in Ethereum or Solana. And in terms of our TPS, we've been seeing Monad as the core blockchain handle a lot of demand, and routinely, easily processing north of 300 or 400 TPS in terms of demand, and the protocol is working as intended. But one of the really interesting things we saw was the existing infrastructure in terms of RPCs, et cetera. They've never experienced something get as much demand or be as performant as Monad. So the infrastructure has been unable to keep up, and there's also like people spamming the testnet. And yeah, so there's like the outer layer for Monad, like the infrastructure keeps breaking, like which is why the faucets also stop working. But the core protocol itself, if you go and look at it, it's been churning out blocks every 500 milliseconds, and yeah, things have been running pretty good so far.
All right, guys, so you just went and saw a bit of the interview that I did with Abdul, who is the head of DeFi at Monad. Great conversation with him. I definitely recommend you guys do follow him on Twitter if you want to keep up to date with everything that is going on around that project. I will say that this video is completely unsponsored. I'm doing this all on my own accord, and that's important to note in this industry, because not everything as it appears, as I'm sure many of you guys already know. But yeah, clear distinction. This video is completely on my own accord, my own doing. Anyways, let's go ahead and continue on, right? So 10,000 transactions per second as a layer 1, and basically instantly 1 second single slot finality, which is very, very big. And they go in here comparing layer 1 blockchains to EVM blockchains and Ethereum layer 2s. And this is a big thing right now, because Ethereum layer 2s, while they do have pros and cons, they are seriously inhibiting the growth of the Ethereum layer 1 blockchain. And I think it's a pretty big reason on why Ethereum was a complete dud so far this cycle. Essentially, these layer 2s, they're parasitic to the Ethereum layer 1 chain. They give no value back to ETH. They only take value from the Ethereum layer 1. Okay, and there's a very strong bull case for Ethereum into the future, right? When it comes to institutional staking, right? Ethereum offers staking directly on mainnet, just as Monad will do, but nonetheless, right? Ethereum is number 2 crypto in the world for over a decade. That's why I'm talking about it. But anyways, there's a pretty strong bull case for ETH. When it comes to institutional staking, right? You'll be able to earn yield. Institutions will be able to earn yield directly on the layer 1 chain. They won't need to go through a third party, which will really mess up the security of everything and make the staking unsecure. So that's huge. But another bull case for Ethereum is the fact that they need to somehow get value from all the layer 2s being built on top of it, right? There's Blast, there's Base, there's Arbitrum, there's Optimism, and there's 10 other layer 2s, and a ton other are going to end up launching, right? Egen layer, ZK Sync, right? The list goes on all these Ethereum layer 2s. And like I said, they're a bit parasitic to the Ethereum layer 1 chain. So Ethereum, the foundation, I don't know how they're going to solve the problem in the future, whether they want to tax layer 2s or somehow get value from it, because there's a one-way value proposition right now where all the layer 2s are just taking value away from the Ethereum mainnet. So do we really need more Ethereum layer 2s? No, we definitely do not. There's enough now. Right, so some people are going to watch this video and be like, oh, abstract or whatever, but it's another Ethereum layer 2. Like, okay, great. Some entrepreneur decided to make that. Anyways, that's just one reason of a bull case actually for Monad, right? A new layer 1 that's actually solving all the difficulties and problems in the past. That's going to launch with a robust ecosystem, a robust community. It won't face other issues of other layer ones that have had in the past, such as no smart contracts, for example. Everything will be integrated on the mainnet launch, and the testnet is actually live right now. Okay, so anyways, here on the webpage, they're going over essentially a lot of the stuff that I just said about EVM blockchains, layer 2s, and the likes. Right? You can even see here how they're essentially saying Ethereum is 10 transactions per second, and no EVM rollup or layer 2 is over 50 transactions per second. Monad is 10,000 transactions per second. So anyways, going ahead and moving on, introducing this blockchain and all of the great things that do come with it. And, Abdul did basically touch on most of this stuff in that conversation you already did see. But nonetheless, I do encourage you guys to go through this on your own and kind of see what it's all about. Now, they've published so many different articles explaining everything, even when they've been building this for many years. And when it comes to the backing and the funding of Monad, it's absolutely huge by the biggest names in the industry, right? So they're doing everything right. Some may look at that as a bad thing, that it's backed by VCs or whatever, but a project of this caliber, the funding needs to come from somewhere. So I don't necessarily see that as too much of a red flag. And the fact that they're just building such a strong community right now through their testnet, right? The testnet is live, and you guys should have already seen my Monad airdrop video that was just released. I'll leave a card to that right here so that you can go ahead and watch it. But yeah, the testnet is already live as well, and you can explore and you can go ahead and use the entire Monad ecosystem as it does stand. So anyways, this is going to be launching in Q2 of this year, 2025. And it's basically Q2 right now. And even as you can see here on their Twitter account, right, they're already getting 10,000 transactions per second on testnet. So there's no LARP involved. It is the real thing here that, it's actually this groundbreaking technology that they do claim it to be. So what I encourage you guys to do is join the Monad Discord. Get started using the testnet, as you might potentially get the airdrop, and stay up to date with everything happening, right? There's a lot of interesting projects that I'm looking at that are building natively on Monad that I think have the potential to do pretty well. And I am keeping a close eye on those. But in general, it's important to essentially become familiar with everything that's going on here, because I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity. Just say there was a ton of opportunity when Base first started to really pick up in early 2024, right? There was a crazy boom that happened with many projects on Base. A similar thing could definitely be happening here when the mainnet does go live in Q2 of this year. So do your own research, check it out on your own, and come to your own findings. And I hope you guys did enjoy this video and find it insightful. Drop a comment down below on what you think. Are you excited for Monad? Do you think it will be, a good opportunity with many new exciting projects launching, or do you think it will be a bust? I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. My thoughts, but drop a comment down below with what you think. So in this video, I went over what the new Monad Layer 1 blockchain is. The mainnet's going to be going live in just a few months, Q2 of this year. And like I said, it's Q2 right now, so it's just around the corner. A lot of exciting things happening, and the development is real. So we'll see what happens when it does go live. Should be a lot of really good opportunities there. At least I'm thinking that way, and I'm definitely prepared for it. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, drop a comment. Also, and if you're new here at Crypto Empire, hit that subscribe button down below and turn on all the notifications so you don't miss any future videos. And my name is Connor from Crypto Empire, and I'll see you in the next video.